Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for being out here today. Oh my gosh, this is 2 press conferences in a row. Thanks. All right, I'll just go. Thank you. I'm Kirk Hovenkotter. I'm the Executive Director of Transportation Choices Coalition. Our organization was proud to lead the ballot measures in 1996, 2008, and 2016 that expanded light rail across the Puget Sound region. Today, we see record-breaking ridership on light rail. Thousands flock to new station openings. Light rail is more popular than the Kraken or the return of the Supersonics. The excitement for these investments are palpable. The message from voters, riders, and the public is clear. Build the damn trains. Light rail brings together the region, literally and figuratively. While the cost challenges are real, no other promise has brought together King, Pierce, and Snohomish County in the way around a shared initiative that Sound Transit has. We need to move forward together. That means that now is not the time to cancel projects. Our region needed this transit yesterday. We need to deliver on the system that people voted for and have been paying for. Moving forward together means we need to keep projects moving. The longer we wait to start building, the more these projects are going to cost. West Seattle Light Rail is ready to go. Everett and Tacoma are just shortly behind. We can start putting these workers to work this year if we want to. Moving forward together means that we're in this together as one region. In these times, with this federal administration, we have to work together. Every major infrastructure project across the country has been facing inflationary challenges. What matters is that Sound Transit is accountable, transparent, and committed to solutions. And we saw that on Thursday. People want this, the public wants this, voters want this, and riders want this. We've seen Sound Transit in this region overcome challenges to delivering light rail in the past, and Transportation Choices Coalition is going to push to ensure that we do it again. Thank you so much for your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. And before we hear from our last speaker, I want to recognize Angela Brady, who is our Director of the Waterfront Civic Projects and Sound Transit, and she's the human being behind a lot of our efforts to accelerate and reduce costs. And so, Angela, thank you for being here as well. So to pull it all together, at the end of the day, it's also about jobs. And we have, again, one of the region's strongest labor advocates in Katie Garrow, the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the MLK Labor Council and a champion for good union jobs. And Councilmember Skate, I really liked how you emphasized jobs in this commitment for our region. So Katie, take it away.
Good morning. And thank you to the members of the media who are here. Happy Labor Day to you all. Members of IATSE, IBEW, SAG-AFTRA, thank you. My name is Katie Garrow. I'm the Executive Secretary Treasurer for MLK Labor, AFL-CIO. We represent 220,000 unionized workers in 150 affiliate unions across King County. We're dock workers and scientists, housekeepers, bus drivers, janitors, and construction workers. It's well known that for a while now, working people have been moving south and north outside of Seattle city limits. Boomers and the very lucky Gen X members were the last generations of middle class people to be able to afford home ownership in our city. This has put incredible pressure on our highways and our roads. And light rail cannot be completed fast enough for working people. Despite cost increases reported last week, now is still the cheapest time to finish the project. Working people faced cost increases just like capital projects do. We understand tariffs and inflation, and we still need public transportation. We cannot afford to sacrifice any segment of the light rail. And let me remind you that these dollars are not wasted. They're invested in economic development of our region. They pay young apprentices, young single moms who get their first job on a construction project, who then have the money to be able to buy new school clothes for their children, to be able to put braces on their kids, to be able to go on family vacations. That is the investment that we make in the Sound Transit workforce. Swedish Ballard and the Metropolitan Market in West Seattle are staffed by many, many people who commute in from places like Everett, from places like Yelm and Kent. And we need for them to be able to have reliable, convenient ways to get to work. Our region's greatest nuisance is traffic. We cannot afford to sacrifice West Seattle or Ballard. Build it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Katie. And before we take a few questions, I also want to recognize Billy Hetherington from Liuna 242. Now, Billy was up here saying, you've ever recognized everyone. See, I pace it out, Billy. That's the way I do it. Get more recognition that way. All right. Billy never wants attention, but I thought I'd close with Billy. Thank you for being here, Billy, and 242. Okay, that's sort of, I think you heard from the wide swath of concerns here, from jobs to economic development to just climate sustainability and the transportation sector. We've all spent a lifetime fighting for other people. And when you hear from the residents in West Seattle and Ballard, they need to know we have their backs, and you have strong, effective leadership advancing their cause. So with that, would be more than happy to take some questions, and I may defer to some experts on it. And Jamie, do you mind coming up here and being the referee a little bit?
Start with Mike.
Yes, Mike. Sure. The question is just whether the single tunnel, the discussion about that, just to clarify it a little bit, I think was Mike is asking. So as you may recall at the board meeting last week, just during sort of general comments, board member Balducci asked the Sound Transit staff to really look at the feasibility of what it can look like given our cost challenges. And there's been no commitments made. But was certainly a strong appetite to consider what a single tunnel option or how this may all come together. And I don't know if anyone wants to add any more to that. Dan, please.
Thanks, Mike. It's a very good question because the downtown tunnel is required for us to build out the spine from Tacoma to Everett. It's also a very costly endeavor. There are transit agencies around the world that use automation and different technologies to increase the number of trains that are within that tight space. The way that we operate light rail today does not allow us to increase the number of trains that are in the tunnel today. For us to be able to complete the spine, we'll need to double or triple the number of trains that are passing through downtown. So from here, Sound Transit is exploring to understand what other practices and technologies are available to us, and if they work in the city of Seattle, and if that allows us to put 2 to 3 times as many trains in the downtown tunnel, which would alleviate the need to build another tunnel. All of that is still under the study and analysis phase. There are no conclusions at this time, but that's part of this practice that I was discussing, where Sound Transit is going through and reviewing how their operations and their capital delivery are going and what needs to change.
Thank you, council member. To repeat the question, Sebastian asked, will some of the $30 billion that we talked about affect some of the planned expansions? And I mean, that's the $30 billion question. And our point is, as we deliberate, the city of Seattle will do everything it can to get the cost done. We think West Seattle and Ballard, as I think Councilmember Mosqueda said, is critical for the whole spine to work effectively. So we don't want to see any regress there. But certainly, Sound Transit will look at all options. We're optimistic that we'll be able to sort of lead the other jurisdictions on what they can do. You may recall, well, I don't know if you recall or not, some of my comments at last week's meeting is that Seattle will do everything it can do to reduce costs, and we're going to expect every other jurisdiction, city and county, to do exactly the same, everything they can do to lower these costs. But just like the tunnel conversation, we're going to have to get very creative. But there's been specific talks about eliminating projects.
And then in the context of the World Cup, how much of that is a deadline that you're looking towards?
Well, that's been a stated goal for the Bellevue line to be completed by. That gives us a very real, tangible event to sort of work behind, and so we still think we're in pretty good shape. But I'm not going to be the first one to say that we're going to deliver all the projects before World Cup, because that'd be a dangerous precedent to start.
Yeah, just to double down on Sebastian's comment there. I mean, obviously everyone here is committing to seeing ST3 forward. So the bottom line is we are looking at potentially up to $30 million a year of expenditure funds. Is there any realm or possibility that you could see projects delayed or taxpayers reluctant?
Just to repeat the question, is there any possibility projects can be delayed because of the $30 billion increase? And I openly talked about the timelines and the inflation factors. We have to see progress. We can't assume that there's going to be drastic delays. And I think under the enterprise initiative, under CEO Constantine's leadership, and with our advocates here, letting our staff, quite frankly, under Angela's leadership, under the hood, so to speak, with Sound Transit to figure out how creative can we be. It's very important to realize that a lot of the inflationary factors that caused this were outside of Sound Transit's control. Again, our partnership with the federal government, with the state, all of other bodies of government are going to be critical. So we feel confident in moving forward, but we have to acknowledge the realities of the challenges that we have.
Tracy?
Mayor, have you guys estimated how much money what you and the company contractors might save with harder top half of the building?
That's a good question, Tracy. We've been a little reluctant to give a dollar amount because it's a work in progress, and Angela's building up her team. I'm not going to put you on the spot, Angela. It'd be hard to speculate. I can tell you what it won't be. It won't be $30 billion, but it's going to head in that direction, and that's how we have to go about this.
Chris and Ryan?
I was trying to cut through all the speeches. Are you just having this press conference because you're worried Tacoma and Everett may come back and say prioritize us before Ballard and West Seattle?
Can you be a little more direct in your question, Chris, please? No. The colleagues on the board are our friends. We've made it very clear we support the whole spine. We also understand that Seattle is a major economic hub and job hub, the largest in the state. And so we have a unique obligation, and we are the voters here, the largest block of voters who are paying for this project. So I'm confident that our colleagues in Pierce County and Snohomish County and other areas of the region are supportive of what we're doing. That was demonstrated, I think, in the past amendment where I made it very clear that we have to look at where growth will be. And the future growth should govern all of our strategic decisions, and that's what this is about. So this is not a means to bludgeon anyone into submission, but for them to realize we too support the spine, but we have to recognize the labor and economic benefits that Seattle brings. And that's what this is about.
Ryan?
You talked about the permit streamlining bill and the ST3 staffing. Are there any other things that the city of Seattle could be doing to speed up these projects and reduce costs on these investments?
That's a good question. I'll repeat it in the answer. We will ask ourselves that question. The first thing we know is we had to devote a goodly sum of dollars and resources to expedite the permit process, to look at everything that Seattle can do within our jurisdiction. Then that question becomes, we have some pretty talented engineers and strategic planners at the city. how then can we couple our work with sound transit and then even use the lessons learned in Seattle to the other cities and the other jurisdictions? So we can't be so insular in our thinking that it's just about Seattle. That we have control over, but how do we use our expertise in the other jurisdictions? All of that work should result in significant savings, and so we'll figure this out as we go, but that's why we reorganized ourselves around this body of work.
Okay.
All right.
This will be the last one.
I know you said that a lot of these inflationary pressures are outside of Sound Transit's control, but obviously, these cost pressures came up back in 2022 during the realignment. What's to say that we don't see this again as we move forward over the next few years and continue to work on these projects? What sort of oversight will there be to ensure that this stays?
Yeah, that's a good question. Number one, we have to recognize that as elected leaders and labor leaders, we have to listen to community as we go. But we can't let the process of constantly listening to feedback also cost us critical dollars. And so we cannot guarantee that there still won't be some issues moving forward, but we can guarantee that we'll be as effective and as efficient as possible in how we do this work. You know, this is a 50-year project. We have to understand that. And it started in 1993. You know, 2040, 2050, there might be other people around right here talking about some of the challenges in 2043. I don't know. I'm not going to predict that. But what we can control is to be as smart as possible, and we have some of the smartest people at the table. And so with that, I'll just close out the discussion by saying thank you to all of my colleagues, my passionate advocate warriors, my laborers, my labor leaders, and we're going to do this smartly, aggressively, and of course protect the interests of Seattle, and we'll always look out for the entire spine as well. And I think that's the common theme that we're seeing here today. Thank you very much.